Cahoy Well and Pump Service has been built around a family tradition of hard work and technical knowledge in the drilling and servicing of water wells. Today, Darren Cahoy provides well drilling services to municipal, commercial, and individual customers. However, Darren's ability to maximize his success was being limited by his lack of knowledge of the business. So Darren decided to bring in a team of business experts to show him how he could pump more profits out of the business with a professionally designed business plan to improve his overall operations and benefit from the funding services of RWI. What are the insights you gained from the business analysis?
Tom, I've had 3 different consulting sessions over the last 9 or 10 years. And the first session that I had, I realized that I had a need to understand my true cost of doing business, my break-even point for labor rates and things like that. I felt as though I were operating a business in the year 2000 or 2001, and I was basing my labor rates and my bid numbers on 1970s way of doing things, which is how much is our competitor down the street charging per hour. I knew in the back of my mind that wasn't correct, and they were able to go through our books, look at our operations, and sure enough, that was one of the items that they brought to my attention. After 4 or 5 years then, I contacted the consulting firm team again and explained to them that I was looking at hiring a sales team to go out and promote our company, and I was wanting to continue to grow, and I needed some insight on how to compensate, how to motivate, and how to hold salespeople, especially living in remote areas, not working out of a central office, how to hold these sales representatives accountable for their time and their performance. And then the last session that I had completed last year, we had just purchased an environmental drilling company, and I was having cash flow issues, and I'd never had a good grasp or understanding of cash flow and cash management. And Ray, the analyst, came in and was able to explain to me in a down-to-earth way what cash flow is, how I can manage it, how I can improve it, and brought several good ideas to the table for me at that time.
Darren, how did our consultants help you improve your business operations?
Well, Tom, I think the most important thing that your consultants did to help me improve my business operations was to provide me with a great increased sense of confidence. And by that I mean what they provided me was the tools to understand my labor break-even, my overburden calculations, and what the true cost of doing business was, is one of the things. When you learn to trust the system and trust the numbers, it makes the decision-making process in business a lot easier at that point in time. The other things that they've accomplished for us in the past is the accountability factor. Everybody now is, with our reporting system and our structure, is accountable for their own billable time and their own productivity and production. And last but not least, they set us up with a great compensation structure and plan for our sales team that has drastically expanded our sales over the last 3 or 4 years for us. So in summary, confidence. Confidence in yourself makes decisions a lot easier.
How did our consultants help you improve the productivity of your employees?
The productivity improvement really kind of caught me off guard to begin with, because I was falsely under the assumption that everybody was as productive as they could possibly be. And we had no way of tracking the amount of billable time versus total time that they worked on an annual basis. So I was basing that assumption off just the brief few minutes that I would observe them in the field or in the shop. We implemented a program to hold the field crew people accountable for their time and their billable time. There was a little resistance to it at the beginning because they knew what their goals were, and if they weren't meeting it, then they didn't know if they were going to have a job the next day. But once they understood that that wasn't the case, it was just a mile marker per se, then it got to be a competition with them. And when they got back, got unloaded from one job and prepped for the next week for the next job, they're out the door. They weren't standing around smoking cigarettes or having a break, because it got to be a competition between them all, and it ended up working out very well in the end. The other part of the productivity was with our sales team. We implemented an incentive-based compensation program for them at this time, and it made them accountable again for all their sales and all their job, and the vast majority of their income is based off work that they generate themselves and bring through the door and manage. So in a roundabout way, we were able to increase the productivity of both field crew people and our sales team all in one fell swoop.
Darren, how did you benefit from the financial reporting system our consultants put in place for you?
I benefited several ways with this, and it's kind of an interesting story. The financial reporting system, basically that they implemented or set up and that we implemented and followed through with, provides me with a series of dashboard reports every Tuesday morning. And as long as we have proper information going in to these reports, I receive proper information back. And within 30 minutes, I can tell exactly which project we had a problem on the previous week, which projects went very well, and it allows me to get in front of a potential problem with a project immediately rather than wait and let it compound and grow to be a larger problem. And so from that aspect, I think I really benefit from it for being able to react much quicker than waiting for an end of the month purchase and profit and loss statement and things of that nature.
How did our consultants help you grow your business?
Well, Tom, I kind of referred to this in an earlier question, but they really provided me with a lot of confidence to make the quality business decisions that need to be made. With me being able to rely on the reporting structure and the trend analysis and things of that nature, I'm able to more easily make the tougher and larger business decisions in a timely fashion. A successful businessman once told me years ago that you should walk when everyone else is running, run when everyone else is walking. As you're probably aware, the United States economy has been in a recession and a downtrend for the last 3 or 4 years, and a lot of our competitors and peers in our industry are either contracting or going out of business, and we've actually taken this opportunity to expand. And so I had the confidence, with the help of the consulting firm, to, in our numbers, in our trend analysis, to pull the trigger and make the decision to expand in a down economy.
Darren, what would you say to a business owner who's considering using our analytical and consulting services to improve his business?
Tom, I'd say I'd have several things to say to them. The first is, even if they think that they are operating at optimal margin and optimal profitability, I'll all but guarantee that they are not. I thought I was on top of my game, knew what was going on, didn't have a clue. And after I've been finished with my consulting sessions, I've increased productivity, I've increased my bottom line. Our business is growing even in the tough financial times and economic times that we're in now in this country. The other thing, as I said, I think there's about three rules that you need to think about and commit yourself to as a business owner prior to hiring the consultants and the analysts to come in. The first is, you can't view this as an expense, because it's not. It's truly an investment in your business and in the future viability of your business. The second is, the second rule would be that plan on taking it in baby steps. There'll be so much information thrown at you the first time around that it really bewildered me. And I think it's very important to have them follow up 8, 10, 12, 14 months after the first session, just to tidy some things up a little bit. And the third would be prepared to babysit your employees or the people that report to you. The implementation is easy, but if you don't stay on it right away, what I found is it starts to tail off, and then you have to come back and kind of reignite that flame to get them. And then once they get used to the reporting structures and the changes, it becomes second nature for them, and it's hands off and goes from there on its own.
Describe to me what your business was like before you brought in our team of business experts, and how it has changed for the better today.
The analogy I like to use is, prior to having the consulting team come in and do their work and implement their programs, looking back on it now, it was like driving a car at night without any headlights. It was just, by guess and by golly, and I was more in a reactionary decision-making stages all the time. We'd wait for something to happen and react to it, and I always felt like I was about a step or two behind everything. After we implemented the programs and the reporting and the accountability, our productivity went up. My weekly dashboard reports that I receive from my people allow me to keep a great handle or overview on the production of our shop people, our sales team, and our field crew people. I'm able to be more proactive by being able to address problems before they happen or before they get to be a huge issue or a huge problem and things of that nature. So it's really again, provided me with a lot of confidence in my business making decisions. And looking forward, it's easier for me to trust the numbers and know what I can expect with seasonal trends and annual trends.
How did RWI's expertise help you consolidate your existing loans?
Well, Tom, RWI's expertise kind of came about to me in a roundabout way. I was in the midst of a consulting session, and with they were explaining cash flow, cash management, and different things that I could do to improve both. And they noticed that there was some irregularities, if you will, on the amount of notes that we had and things like that. And at that time, the consultant suggested that I have RWI come in. And so I agreed to that. And RWI had Dave Rasmussen come over, and he took a look at our balance sheet and noticed that I had all kinds of different notes and maturity dates and things like that. And he was able to explain to me that it's crazy to have, 3 different operating notes and 12 or 13 different equipment notes, all with different maturity dates, different interest rates, and that it's tough to cash flow that, tough to manage that. Dave's expertise, he was able to look at historical financial trends and data for us, put together a 3 to 5 year projection for us in this easy to understand booklet, and he basically bid or shopped our borrowing business out to multiple different banks in the area that allowed us to get much more favorable conditions to improve our cash flow.
Darren, what benefit did you get from the loan consolidation?
I received several very nice benefits from the loan consolidation. With RWI's expertise, we were able to successfully form a new relationship with a different bank, and it's something that I'd never thought about in the past. But now that we've been using this for several months, we have improved technology. We can scan our checks for deposits, so we don't have to drive to a bank 15 miles away every day for our deposits. I have a set of guidelines or rules and mileposts, if you will, so I know exactly where I stand with the bank. I'm not waiting for them to, for instance, at our old bank, if they woke up on the wrong side of the bed some morning, they could have, that could have been lights out for us at that time, where I can't have that happen anymore. Plus, we're able to improve our cash flow by being able to negotiate more favorable interest rates and maturity dates on our notes.
How did you benefit from RWI's experience in setting up a new banking relationship for your business?
I think the way that I benefited the most from RWI's experience and Dave Rasmussen's expertise was it was really enlightening for me, for Dave to explain to me the interworkings of a bank and a banker's mind and what they look for. Anybody can make photocopies of balance sheets and P&L statements and dream up projections on a 3 to 5 year plan. But what impressed me the most was their ability to incorporate information and narrative into this booklet that is conducive to the banking industry that most people, I think, don't see. It's kind of a behind the scenes type thought process on the way a banker's mind works and things of that nature. And I think that's what really put us over the top and set us apart with our booklet and our presentation to the banks, was the intrinsic value of this hidden information that RWI was able to incorporate in our presentation booklet.
How did RWI's help in lowering your interest rate on your current debt benefit your business?
Well, Tom, surprisingly enough, the financial institution or bank that we ended up selecting to be our new lending institution actually gave us a better rate than what we were even asking for to begin with. And I think a lot of that can be attributed to the expertise and experience of, as I mentioned before, the intrinsic value of the narrative feature of our presentation booklet. But it has tremendously increased our cash flow. It's reduced our, we're paying right now, our monthly principal and interest payments are 25% of what they were prior to concluding our deal with the new bank, and it's obviously going to affect our bottom line and our break-even point in a positive fashion as well.
Darren, how did RWI's help in lengthening the payback period of your loan benefit your business?
Well, it really helped benefit our business by improving our cash flow dramatically. We were able to improve our cash flow enough that after 2 months, we had our session with RWI already paid for. You just don't see very many investments today that have a 2-month payback like that. Our new equipment note, if you will, consolidated 13 or 14 individual notes, and it now acts as more of an operating line versus an individual equipment note, and it helps provide me with guidelines and structure as far as what I can purchase in addition to, or upgrades and capital expenditures on vehicles and equipment and things of that nature. I really like the comfort factor that comes along with that.
Do you think you would have been able to achieve the same results on your own?
Absolutely not. RWI's experience and Dave Rasmussen's expertise and experience really provided a lot of the intrinsic value to the narrative portion of the presentation booklet that we put together that I mentioned earlier. And Dave Rasmussen's past experience with banks and lending institutions, he really knew how bankers were geared, and it was real fascinating for me to watch him do his thing as he was shopping our lending business around, and how the bankers would react and how he'd hold them in place and make them toe the line and review the final contracts and things of that nature. How many small business owners do you know has the time to dedicate to this, 2 or 3 weeks straight to shop this around and end up with those results and feel comfortable that the contract that you sign with the bank is what you think it is? Not very many. I know I certainly couldn't have done it myself.
Darren, what would you say to a business owner who's considering using RWI's funding services to benefit his business?
Tom, I'd tell another business owner that whether they're struggling financially or if they're a growing concern or enterprise, they could still benefit a lot from an RWI consulting experience. Our return on investment was nearly immediate after they finished up with negotiating better terms and a lengthier maturity date on my notes. And if nothing else, I really got a great glimpse at the inner workings of the financial institutions, lending industry, and things of that nature, and really learned a lot about my own company and how cash flow can help me along as well.
Darren, what would you say you've learned from this experience in working with RWI?
Well, I learned a great deal working with RWI on this last session here, Tom. I had been with the same bank for roughly 11 or 12 years, trusted them with my life. If they told me this was in my best interest, I just blindly followed. And I think a lot of things have changed in this world, and therefore bringing somebody in for me that had experience and expertise in this fashion really went a long ways on us being able to negotiate much more favorable terms, and as I've mentioned before, increased return on investment. I mean, I had no idea that banks were gauged on the size, depending on how many dollars and this and that. I found out that maybe some of the reasons that I was struggling with my existing bank was that they were the smallest bank around. And I'm with a bank now that's about 5 times this size. They were hungry for business loans, and guess what? I ended up being the winner out of the whole thing.